What up, doe? Welcome to the D. From the concrete of Gratiot to the hustle of 7 Mile. From the parties at Hart Plaza to the late nights on Jefferson. This is Detroit Tales and Stories, where the Motor City's realest stories come alive. We're taking you back to when the streets had their own rules, when your whip spoke louder than words, and when survival meant everything. The mid-'80s to the 2000s, when Detroit was raw, uncut, and unforgettable. These are the stories they don't tell you about, straight from the heart of the D. Detroit Tales and Stories. Real stories, real Detroit, real talk. Detroit Chronicles, Blue Rags and Young Dogs. Episode 1, Summer 1991, Dexter Avenue. Welcome to Detroit Chronicles. The year is 1991. Detroit's Most Wanted is pumping the city of boom from every car stereo rolling down Dexter Avenue. This is the story of Quentin Quack Williams and the summer that changed everything. Chapter 1, The Heat. The heat rising off the asphalt on Dexter Avenue made everything shimmer like a mirage. The corner stores with their barred windows, the young cats posted up in doorways, and that ice-cold Arctic mist Fago calling your name from behind bulletproof glass. Detroit's Most Wanted was bumping the city of boom from every car stereo that rolled past, while the smell of barbecue from somebody's backyard mixed with motor oil and that sweet scent of trouble brewing. 15-year-old Quentin Quack Williams adjusted the royal blue bandana hanging from his back pocket for the third time in 10 minutes. He was trying to look cool, trying to look like he belonged on these westside streets. But the sweat beating on his forehead wasn't just from Detroit's suffocating summer heat. "Yo, Q, you sure about this?" his cousin Esham whispered as they walked toward the bustling strip of shops that made Dexter Avenue feel alive. Esham was 16, claimed Folk Nation like his older brothers, but right now he looked just as nervous as Quack felt. The two cousins were eastside boys, born and raised off East 7 Mile and Van Dyke. But every weekend they'd catch the D-Dot bus over to their grandmother's house on Waverly, just off Dexter. Grandma Pearl kept them on a tight leash though. She knew these west side streets had a different kind of energy than what they were used to. "Y'all can walk to the store and back, that's it," she'd say, pointing that crooked finger that had switched too many behinds to count. "Ain't nothing good happening past sundown on these corners." But it was only 2 p.m. and the strip was alive. Chapter 2, The Mistake. Quack had been tagging up buildings all summer with his East Side crew name, crossing out West Side sets, thinking he was slick. The problem was, on the East Side, everybody knew his family. His uncle worked at the Ford plant. His mama was cool with all the neighborhood aunties, and most of the older cats remembered when his pops was coming up. That family protection didn't extend to these Dexter Avenue blocks, though. They were heading to grab some snacks from Harper Discount Liquor, quarter bags of chips, maybe some of that new Crystal Pepsi everybody was trying, and definitely a cold Fago to cut through this heat. The store sat on the corner like a fortress. Iron bars and that thick plexiglass that made everybody look distorted. But it was also where all the action was. "Check it," Deshaun nodded toward two older cats posted up near the store entrance. One was dark-skinned and stocky, wearing a Fresh Pistons jersey even in this heat. The other was light complexioned with a curl pattern that looked like he just left the barbershop. They had that west side swagger, calm, confident, like they owned every inch of concrete they stood on. "That's CD and dirty," Deshaun said under his breath. "Them cats be running with the Dexter Avenue crew. They've been around forever, dog." Quack felt his stomach tighten but kept walking. He'd been spray painting over Dexter sets all month, putting up his East Side symbols, thinking distance meant protection. Now, walking past these cats, he realized how stupid that was. Chapter 3, The Confrontation. CD spotted them first. Real name Carlos Dawson. At 23, he'd been running these blocks since Reagan was president. Back when crack first hit Detroit like a plague, he had eyes like a hawk and could spot eastside swagger from 3 blocks away. The way these young boys carried themselves, the cheap sneakers trying to pass for authentic Jordans, and most importantly, that blue rag hanging out the shorter one's back pocket like a flag of war. "Aye, young dog." CD's voice cut through the mix of car engines and distant music. Both cousins slowed down, trying to act like they didn't hear him. "Aye, I'm talking to you." They turned around and Quack felt his mouth go dry. CD stepped closer, Dirty right behind him like a shadow. "What that rag mean in your back pocket?" Quack's heart was pounding so hard he thought CD might hear it. "What rag?" "That blue one hanging out your back pocket, little cat." "You deaf?" The summer air felt thick enough to choke on. Cars kept driving past. A burgundy Cadillac with wire wheels, bumping Esham's Boomin Words from hell. A Monte Carlo SS with some awesome Dre, and the hardcore committee flowing from the speakers. But it felt like the whole block stopped to watch. Quack's voice cracked. "It's hot out here, man." "I'm just wiping my sweat." Dirty stepped up then. Real name Robert Williams, though everybody called him Dirty since middle school. He was shorter than CD, but had these intense eyes that made you feel like he could see right through your soul. "Put that thing in your pocket and throw it away. Matter of fact, throw it away right now." There was a garbage can right there by the bus stop, like God put it there just for this moment. Quack looked at Deshaun, who was suddenly very interested in his own shoelaces. No help coming from that direction. "Throw it away right now," Dirty repeated, and there was something in his voice that wasn't playing. Quack pulled the bandana from his pocket. This cheap piece of cloth he bought at the Woolworths on Gratiot for $3, thinking it made him look official, and dropped it in the garbage can like it was on fire. "Now get off our block." Chapter 4, the lesson begins. They walked into the store without another word, leaving Quack and Deshaun standing there looking like the kids they really were. Through the bulletproof glass, they could see CD and Dirty watching them, making sure the lesson stuck. "Come on, man," Deshaun whispered. "Let's get that pop and get gone." Inside Harper Discount Liquor, the air conditioning was broken. The smell of old cigarettes and cheap air freshener hung heavy. The owner, Mr. Hassan, watched them through the glass with tired eyes that had seen too much. Everything cost more here than it did at the big grocery stores in the suburbs. But this was what the neighborhood had. They grabbed their Faygo, blue Arctic mist that reminded Quack too much of the rag he'd just thrown away, and some chips. Behind them, CD and Dirty entered, and Quack could feel their eyes burning into his back. "Y'all cats better not walk back down this way," CD said, loud enough for the whole store to hear. "Find another route." Outside, the heat hit them like a wall. Deshaun was already plotting their escape route. "We can cut through the alley behind Waverly. Ain't nobody gonna see us." But as they turned down the narrow alley that ran parallel to Dexter, cutting between the backs of houses and apartments, Quack was still thinking about how embarrassed he felt. On the east side, he had juice. Not much, but some. Over here, he was just another young cat who didn't know the rules. Chapter 5, Deeper Trouble. "Yo." The voice came from behind them. They kept walking, pretending they didn't hear it. "Yo!" This time they had to turn around. Coming toward them was a kid who couldn't have been more than 16, but he was built like a linebacker. Dark skin, gleaming with sweat, wearing Timberland boots in 90-degree weather and long shorts that hung past his knees. He had 2 other cats with him, and they all had that westside confidence that came from never having to look over their shoulder. "Which one of y'all cats named Quack?" Quack's blood turned to ice water. How did this kid know his tag name? "I don't know, man," he replied, trying to sound casual. "Nah, cat, it's you." "I heard it's you." The kid stepped closer, and Quack could see the muscle definition under his white tank top. "I know you've been writing that trash around here. Get in my face, cat. I'ma throw your behind in this dumpster. I ain't playing with you. Behind him, his two partners were nodding, already knowing how this was about to go down. One of them looked like he could be related to the main speaker. Same build, same intensity. The other was lighter skinned with a pretty boy face, but his eyes were just as hard. Deshaun took a step back. Dog, he said Quack. He didn't say my name. Quack looked at his cousin with disbelief. That ain't got nothing to do with you? You a punk, the muscle-bound kid said to Deshaun. He talking about you, cat. He said Quack. He didn't say my name, so that ain't got nothing to do with me. The betrayal hit Quack harder than any fist could have. On the east side, family was everything. Cousins fought together, got jumped together, went to jail together. But over here on Dexter, even blood couldn't protect you. All right, man, Quack said, his voice smaller than he wanted it to be. I ain't gonna do it no more. We good. The leader studied him for a long moment, sweat dripping off both their faces in the summer heat. Finally, he nodded. Cool. But I catch you right in that trash again, we're gonna have problems. Chapter 6, The Real Test. As the three Westside cats walked away, Quack turned to Deshaun with fire in his eyes. Cat, you just gonna leave me hanging like that? Dog, he said your name, not mine. I ain't in this. They finished the walk to their grandmother's house in silence. The taste of that Arctic mist Fago bitter in Quack's mouth now. But even as they climbed the steps to Grandma Pearl's porch, he could hear a car engine behind them, slowing down. He turned to see a dark green Honda Civic with 3 cats inside, the same ones from the alley, plus someone else. The car door opened and the muscle-bound leader got out, grinning now. What up, what up? He called out, jogging toward them with his arms spread wide like they were old friends. Yo, my name Mike City. That's my cousin Marcus. That's my cousin Larry. He pointed to the car where 2 other young men were getting out, both wearing the kind of confident smiles that came right before trouble started. Y'all want to see what Buck Days feel like? Before Quack could ask what Buck Days meant, Mike City was rushing toward them. Deshaun was already running, and Quack's survival instincts kicked in a split second later. They jumped over the back gate to their grandmother's yard, hearts pounding, while Mike City and his cousins laughed like it was all a game. From behind the safety of Grandma Pearl's chain-link fence, breathing hard and trying to figure out what just happened, Quack realized something had changed. The streets had rules he didn't understand, and every block had its own laws. That blue rag in the garbage can wasn't just a piece of cloth. It was his east side identity, and these west side cats had just made him throw it away like trash. Summer 1991 was just beginning for Quentin Quack Williams. He'd learned his first lesson about respect on Dexter Avenue, but the real education was about to start. Next time on Detroit Chronicles, when enemies become family and the streets teach lessons you can't learn in school. That's another chapter from the Tales and Stories, fam. If these stories take you back to the D you remember or help you understand the D you never knew, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Drop a comment and tell us your Detroit story. What block you claimed, what party store you remember, what ride you were pushing. Follow us on the gram at Detroit Tales and Stories for behind the scenes content and rare photos from the era. Until next time, keep the D alive in your heart. Peace.